Hello, everyone. My name is Gavin Colquitt, and I would like to welcome you today on behalf of the AACPDM Adapted Sport and Recreation Committee to the Community Forum and the Adapted Sports and Recreation Panel. The moderators today will be myself, who is the past chair of the committee, as well as our Shoval, who is the current chair of the committee. Now we would like to welcome our wonderful guests that we are lucky to have with us today on the panel. So first, I would like to introduce everyone to Clayton Frech. He is a disability advocate and social entrepreneur with a passion for diversity and inclusion across all sectors of society. He is currently the CEO and founder of Angel City Sports and is chairman of the board of directors for Adaptive Sports USA. In addition to serving as a board member and strategic advisor for a number of companies, he is currently launching the AMPLA Institute, a career development and planning firm dedicated to helping people optimize their career potential. More importantly, and perhaps most importantly, he is the father of an aspiring Paralympian, Ezra Frech, who is 15 years old and on Team USA and plans to medal in the Tokyo Paralympics. So we really appreciate Clayton being with us today. So next we have Cathryn Gray. Cathryn is from Atlanta, Georgia. She is a Paralympic athlete with cerebral palsy and is an internationally ranked athlete in the field of track and field in the F35 class, and she is also currently a 4.0 student. She has been designated a U.S. Paralympic High School All-American in track and field, and also the Women's Sports Foundation National Ambassador Travel and Training Grant recipient. She has competed in Spain in the World Paralympic Games and was the only female named as a U.S. Paralympic Track and Field All-American, in addition to being the 2017 Javelin and Discus National Champion. She currently holds the national record for the Javelin and is a 2019 All-American. So next on our panel, we have Cathryn's mom, Cynthia Frisina, and Cynthia is a global expert in her own right on disability advocacy, family education, and partnerships. Cynthia has served as the executive director of one of the leading U.S. Paralympic sports clubs, transforming it into a leader in the field of adapted sports, recreation, and training. Cynthia's leadership resulted in being honored by the United States Olympic Committee as the Rings of Gold Outstanding Sports Program in the U.S. for 2 years in a row, and brought humanitarian adapted sports programs to Africa, South America, and the Middle East. Cynthia serves as on the Global Advisory Board for the Cerebral Palsy International Sports and Recreation Association, or CP-ISRA, and several other advisory boards in the field, including the American Academy for Cerebral Palsy and Developmental Medicine Community Council. She holds a Bachelor's of Arts from the University of Illinois and master's degrees from Northwestern University. Next, we have Cindy Housner. Cindy is the founder and executive director of the Great Lakes Adapted Sports Association. She's a nationally recognized adaptive and Paralympic sports club coach that provides sports programs to youth and adults, including veterans who have a physical or visual disability. Some of her previous roles and credentials include the current track coach for Team Classa at the Great Lakes Adapted Sports Association. She is the 2019 co-leader for the Team USA Paralympic Junior World Championships. She's the games director for the Great Lakes Regional Games and Adult National Open and has been doing so since 2006. She's a member of the Athletics for All National Task Force, co-team leader of the 2015 and 2018 International Wheelchair and Amputee Sports Foundation World Junior Games for Team USA. She's a past board member of the Wheelchair and Ambulatory Sports USA. She's a former executive director of the National Wheelchair Athletic Association, Games Director of the 2010 National Junior Disability Championships, and for Team USA, the Athletic Manager of the Seoul Paralympic Games. So we really appreciate Cindy being with us today. Next, we have Patrick Lawrence from the Challenge Athlete Foundation. He serves at the foundation as the Senior Programs Manager, and he's been in this role since 2015. He was introduced to adaptive sports as an athletic trainer for USA Volleyball's sitting volleyball programs. After careers in healthcare, recreation management, and sports medicine, discovering adaptive sports combine all of the things that he is passionate about. He currently oversees several grant programs, the high school adaptive sports programs, and community outreach at the Challenge Athletes Foundation. The opportunity to support individuals with physical disabilities in their athletic and recreational pursuits is a reflection of his own belief that being active is an essential part of life and should be accessible to people of all abilities. Next on our panel, we have Quinn Waitley. She is a daughter, sister, and person with disabilities, but she's also an athlete, surfer, and speaker with spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. She comes from a family of 7 kids who all love athletics. She is one of 7 children and a set of quadruplets, girls of whom she has a special relationship with. She's a fierce competitor, loves playing sports, and is currently the top-ranked surfer in her category in the United States and top 5 in the world. Along with her family, she has started a foundation and nonprofit for individuals with, for surfing for individuals with disabilities. Next on our panel, we have Jen and Bower Lyman. Bower is a 15-year-old New Orleanian who has quadriplegic cerebral palsy, visual and communication impairments. He is a healthy, happy teenager who loves Mardi Gras, music festivals, working out, bike riding, race running, eating sushi, swimming, school, and so much more. He and his parents enjoy traveling to beaches in Costa Rica, skiing in Colorado, and exploring the rivers and bayous of coastal Louisiana. Bower's mom, Jen, is passionate about ensuring that individuals with complex cerebral palsy have opportunities to actively participate in meaningful experiences that promote self-expression, optimal health, lead to lasting friendships, and that are challenging, fun, and inclusive. Jen is currently the chair of the Academy of Cerebral Palsy and Developmental Medicine's Community Council, and she serves on the boards of CP Now and Camp Dream Street. Jen is a recreation therapist and a yoga instructor. Jen, Bower, and Chris Lyman live in New Orleans with their new puppy, Everest. Once again, on behalf of the AACPDM Adapted Sport and Recreation Committee, we are very thankful for all of our panelists who are with us today.
Okay, great. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to start with a general question of what does adaptive sports mean to you? And we're going to start with Clayton.
So thanks for having me, everyone. I'm going to be very literal. The definition that we use at Angel City Sports is an adaptive sport, is a sport that has been designed or adapted for people with physical and or visual impairments. And typically it's done through rule changes or equipment. So that is the technical definition that we use for adaptive sport.
Perfect. We'll go to Patrick.
Thank you also for inviting me to be on the panel and for the very textbook definition, Clayton. Well done. I'm a little more fanciful. My feeling is adaptive sport is just giving people the opportunity, despite whatever ability they have, to get on the field and to play, to be active, to move, and to be better through sports and athletics.
Okay, perfect. So next we have Cindy.
So I'm going to be very literal what it means to me, and it's totally my passion, and it is my passion because adaptive sports changes life. And so that's what it means to me.
Quinn?
For me, adaptive sports means everything because it's not only like defined my life and who I am, it's just a big part, and I wouldn't be who I am without it today.
That's beautiful. Cathryn?
Yes, I'm going to kind of echo what Quinn said. I think it's life-changing. Honestly, I would have never envisioned myself as an adaptive track and field athlete if you told me when I was younger. I think it means freedom and confidence and friendship and team. The best thing that's ever happened to me, honestly.
Cynthia?
So for me, adaptive sports means several things. As being both a mother and a disability advocate, it means equality. I've seen the changes and opportunities that it's given my daughter, Cathryn, and also improvement in function. That was one thing when Cathryn got involved with adaptive sports and through running another adaptive sports program, I saw people actually improve their function and improve their health and quality of life, which is huge, and it really paves the way for lifelong improvement and success.
Great. And then we have Jen and Bower.
So I'll take it a different direction. For us, it's about fun, and it's about friendships, and it's about those social connections that Bower gets to make and have through experiences with adaptive sports and recreation. And yes, of course, function is a wonderful end game, and that's a bonus, but for him, it's all about the fun.
Okay, great. So we'll start with Jen and Bower now. What are some of the benefits of adaptive sports and physical activity? And feel free to include any personal examples.
You know, I do think that for Bower, that the ability to participate in things that that he wouldn't normally get to participate in is a huge benefit, and having adaptive sports and we create a lot of things for ourselves here in New Orleans, but you know, we create opportunities for him to participate, and that's a big deal. But of course, you know, I mean, just he is a super fit, healthy kid, and it's because he is involved in so many different recreational activities, and yeah, so I mean, that's the main benefit, that and of course, you know, making friends and having fun.
Quinn?
For me, the benefits of sports and just being active, I think, like, is so important for the world today, especially today, even more so if you're disabled, because quarantine, we're like shut down and can't do anything. But when surfing came along, it changed my life. And, you know, being disabled, you think surfing is the last thing you're gonna be able to do, and I just figured it out. And just to compete at this level, it's not only fun, but I'm very competitive. And yeah, I just think it's so beneficial, any activity, just to keep your body moving. And I've been able to make friends from around the world, which is insane. So I love competing, but also down the line, I'm not going to compete forever, so I'll still be surfing no matter what. So that's the goal.
Great. And then we have Cathryn and then Cynthia.
Yes. So I think for the benefits of adaptive sports, it's physically made me stronger. Like CP, cerebral palsy, affects the left side of my body. So being physically active literally changed my body and made me stronger. And it helps my walking, like my mental health, confidence. And I, in turn, because of sports, I believe in myself more and I have better self-esteem. And I've just, like Quinn said, I've been able to make friends from all over the world and through different track competitions. It's been really good for my social life, but also for my physical body, and mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Cynthia.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Sure. I think, one of the benefits of adaptive sports is it really is a pathway to other things. One thing I didn't really understand is that being involved with adaptive sports, whether it's recreational or competitive, can help people both achieve more in school, just in terms of having that confidence and self-discipline, but we never really anticipated that it also had a pathway to these international competitions, or even being able to be considered for University of Michigan as an adaptive athlete, or other collegiate programs that are now growing across the country. And being able to have that opportunity that able-bodied athletes have is a huge step forward in the disability community.
Okay, great. So let's go to Patrick.
Yeah, I think our perspective, mine specifically, and the way we look at things through CAF is it's a big community. I think that's a big takeaway. That's something that people don't always see unless they're really immersed in it. So, I mean, going to Hawaii last year and seeing Quinn surf and seeing all the people rally around her when she comes off, regardless of the fact that they're all competing, that community is there. Seeing the teams that Cindy brings out to different competitions, Angel City Sports that Clayton has put on for years. All of these things bring together all these people with similarities who are competing against each other, but they're also such a very supportive community. I think that's such a unique thing that comes with adaptive sport.
Wonderful. Clayton?
Sure. For us at Angel City Sports, what we like to say is really more important than the physical health benefits, which are incredible. It's really about creating a sense of belonging. So I think that really dovetails with a few of the comments. And we know that the world, isn't always friendly to people with disabilities, but can we, on a as regular basis as possible, create that sense of home and belonging? And I think what happens then is it leads to self-acceptance, self-confidence in allowing our athletes to dream. And we like to say dream on and off the field of play.
Wonderful. And Cindy?
Okay, here we go. Kind of piggybacking on what everybody else said, definitely the support system, but the resources that adaptive sports provides, not just for sports, but it can be education, it can be equipment. And this community communicates very well. You can text, phone call, you get an answer because we're all so passionate about what we do. And just to kind of finalize, it sets higher expectations for our athletes, whether that be in sports, whether that be in education, whether that be in vocation. It really pushes our athletes to the next level of what they're able to accomplish.
Wonderful. Now that you've inspired all of us, and hopefully all of you in the audience are inspired, let's go to some practical points, like how does the family go about finding a good and appropriate adaptive sports program for their child to participate in? And this will go towards Cindy, Clayton, and Patrick. We'll start with you, Cindy.
And I'm so glad that Clayton and Patrick are after me. So, but I do remember when Clayton and Ezra started in adaptive sports, and I absolutely remember having the conversation with Clayton, and he's super excited, and he's like, well, how do parents find out about this? Nobody knows about this. So it is a multifaceted approach. It truly is. And as a parent, you have to be resourceful, and which you guys are anyway, but it's word of mouth. It's seeing somebody on the street. It's, seeing somebody at a athletic competition, somebody in your school. It could be the medical community. It could be the disability, the collegiate. So I really feel it's a multi-facet. And if a program, it doesn't work for whatever reason, go on to the next, find out. But it does sometimes take some digging. And like I said, I'm glad Clayton is after. He can talk about his journey and how Ezra, how he found adaptive sports.
Yeah, please, Clayton.
Sure. So first of all, just from a tactical standpoint, I really think that there's sort of 3 really good web resources for people. The first one is Challenge Athletes Foundation. Patrick can talk more about it, but they have a really nice list of adaptive sports programs, and they're very connected to us because they fund athletes that are in our programs. So that's like number 1. Move United, which is sort of the new organization that's evolving out of Adaptive Sports USA and Disabled Sports USA, has always had really nice, both organizations had really nice lists of chapters that are a really good starting point. They're vetted more than just a random organization you might find on the, just through a Google search. And then the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee also maintains a list. Their lists are always evolving and changing. So those are 3, I think, that kind of the best place just to see a list. What I would say kind of echoes what Cindy said, which is, when, especially if you're thinking about a young child, you just got to be really resourceful. You got to be willing to travel. Google is your best friend. Google is how I found the Challenge Athletes Foundation. So, for people that started out 20 years ago in their journey or 30 years ago and didn't really have Google, and it was probably a lot harder. Now you can really find things in your area through web searches. And I think my tip is just in your region of the country, join as many lists as you can, and certainly the bigger ones, the GLASAs, the Angel City on the West Coast. There's a bunch of great organizations throughout the country. And most of us are kind of consolidating resources in our regions. So, you don't have to be on every list, but if you get on a few of these big lists, email lists, you're gonna really start to see what's going on out there. So I think it's gotten a lot easier.
Yeah, I'll agree with what Clayton said. Those are great resources. We're very happy with the resource base we put together. It constantly needs vetting and upkeeping, and we've tried to include both really established and focused adaptive sport programs, but then we've also thrown in a lot that are kind of adaptive friendly, that maybe that's not their everyday thing, but they are welcoming to people who have disabilities and do their best to integrate them within different programs. And so to echo what both of them, both Cindy and Clayton have said, you do have to be resourceful. It's not as commonplace as traditional youth sports, but you will find places who will be supportive and integrate a child with a disability or a young person with a disability into a program, which we would definitely encourage, because sometimes it is prohibitive to drive 2-3 hours to practices. However, there's always new ones popping up everywhere. Just recently, Wichita Adaptive Sports, I believe, is one that's just kind of getting started. It's in the middle of Kansas, and there's not a ton of people out there, but they're piecing it together. They're applying for grants, they're getting support, they're going to different events and meeting more people. And through that process and that networking that Clayton spoke of, is how you start to build upon the things that groups like Cindy have been doing for 20 plus years. And you keep learning, and it just stair steps up, and it grows and it gets bigger.
And Aura, can I just add a couple thoughts here? Because in the question you ask, appropriate adaptive sports program for your child. And I think that's a really important word for us to all consider. And my only real caution here is when you're learning and starting out, you have no idea what's appropriate for your child. You really don't. And you don't know what they're going to be interested in. You don't know what's going to be. You just have to try as much as you can. And I will tell you a funny story. For those of you that know my son Ezra, for years when I would take him to track meets, and I'd sign up for 9 events. He did jump, the 3 throws, 60 through the 400. And he would complain and, try to convince me to get him out of some of them. It's too much. Well, first of all, the kid has junior records at all 9 events that'll probably stand for many years. And he found 3 out of the 9 that he's elite at. So the kid was complaining left and right about being signed up for all this stuff. And so I think there's really something to, especially when the kids are younger, they don't know what's in their best interest, and really just plugging them in, trying things out, obviously monitoring their well-being and their health and safety, but a little crankiness from a kid is nothing to worry about. They have to try as many sports as possible. And Patrick's right. There's programs popping up left and right all over the country. It's a pretty exciting time, I think, to be an adaptive athlete.
Great, thank you so much for adding that. So now we'll ask some of the athletes we have on the panel, and their parents can also chip in, a little bit about maybe some of your concerns that you had when you first started adaptive sports. We'll start with Cathryn.
Yes. So I remember, I'm going to tell a story, a little anecdote. So I started adaptive track and field when I was 13 years old. And to echo what Clayton was saying, when my mom asked me if I wanted to do it, like do adaptive track and field, I kind of like laughed and was like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't think that I was going to be able to do it because I had never seen anyone like me with a physical disability actually do adaptive track and field. I didn't know what it looked like. I didn't have representation around me in any of my schooling. So I remember this quote. It's like, how can you be in the world and participate in the world if you don't see yourself in it? But my mom really pushed me to do adaptive track and field because she had more, I think, forethought or foresight is the right word. She saw the future, what my future could be. And I already had been physically active because, like Clayton was saying, my parents were putting me in adaptive rock climbing, rowing,
Every single thing we can do.
ballet, and I would complain because like nothing clicked and I didn't see myself in that. So I just didn't think I could do it. But when I tried it, I loved it. So I would tell parents and kids my age, because I'm 19 now, or adults, kids, adults, whoever, that really just try it, because you never know where it would lead. I don't think I would have never envisioned myself being on the adaptive track and field program at the University of Michigan as the first female adaptive athlete here, or a Team USA member, or part of the GLASA team. So really just try it and see where it leads.
Beautiful. Cynthia, do you have anything to add after such high praise?
No, I appreciate that, Cathryn. I think the thing for me is when Cathryn was young that I really did try to find every possible thing she could do. She was shooting bows and arrows, rock climbing. If we had to put her in a harness, we did it. Kayaking, canoeing, swimming, everything we could think of. Track and field was actually the last thing that we tried because I wasn't personally all that familiar with it at that time, but then that was the thing that ended up clicking for Cathryn. So, you know, just try everything. Look for good programs and people that are passionate, but give it all a try.
And Cynthia, did you have any concerns when you guys first started looking into adaptive sports?
Yeah, I actually did have a concern, and that was as the mother of a child with cerebral palsy, which is a little bit different than other disabilities. We could not find other young girls or young kids like Cathryn. So it was, at first we had, you know, some concerns just trying to find our tribe. We luckily have done that, but it was some of the things that we tried. Cathryn would be the only child like her, you know, the only one with CP. And, you know, we're looking for friends and friendship. So, you know, till that clicked, it was a little bit tricky, but I wasn't worried about her getting hurt. I wasn't worried about all of those things. I just wanted her to be able to find her comfort level and what she would really be passionate about.
Wonderful. Quinn, any concerns that you had?
For me personally, like I played a bunch of sports, and of course I grew up with a lot of sisters. So once I was introduced to adaptive sports, I just wanted to jump in. So my parents probably had a lot of concerns that I can't really speak on, but they've seen me play so many sports. And of course my mom probably has concerns about surfing and all that, but they've seen me do WCMX, which is like skateboarding, like dropping into goals. So that was just a really like hard chapter for my family, because I don't know if Patrick remembers this. I would just face plant on concrete, but surfing is a lot nicer on my body. And yeah, I, as an adult, like, I have been rocked a couple times by the ocean, and I think for me, I do have a healthy fear of the ocean, which I think every human should have, especially if they surf. So, you know, sometimes there is concerns about other people being out in the water, especially able-bodied people. You know, that's just a part of surfing, but I still love it, and I'm not that I'm mean out in the water, but I definitely don't let anyone try to cut me off on the wave or anything, so, you know, those are my only concerns.
So you're concerned about other people, so other people should get out of your way, because watch out, right?
Yeah, so that's pretty much it, and I'm still learning about the ocean and like how my body works in it with CP, because that comes into a whole nother factor. When I surf, like my spasticity, I get tight and I get cold because I'm super tiny. So all these other factors that do concern me sometimes, but then at the end of the day, I love this sport and I choose to do it, so.
Wonderful. And Jen and Bower, concerns when you were first looking into adaptive sports?
No, you know, this is what I did for a living before I had Bower, and helping families find adaptive and recreational programs. And so, you know, I always found myself on the other end of that conversation, encouraging families and helping them find the programs that would help their children. So when I had Bower, that's, you know, after I got through the you know, therapy all the time, I was like, okay, how can we get him involved in more recreational activities? And so I personally, I mean, that's a passion of mine, and I feel like I probably pushed Bower to do more things than he probably wants. And I think he got the giggles listening to Quinn, because he got to go surfing last year in Costa Rica and loved it. And it was, he was listening to you talk about it, and I was like, I know he knows exactly. Yeah. So yeah, no, I don't, but I do encourage, I mean, Bower has quadriplegic CP, and you know, I know that's a fear for a lot of families, is, you know, is it going to break my kid? You know, are we going to hurt them? And you know, this is what these folks are trained to do. When we go adaptive skiing, the adaptive ski instructors are amazing, and they know how to handle Bower's body, and they know how to help him be the best that he can be. So I feel like there's experts out here with the different sports that do know how to help the kids really thrive.
If anybody else wants to add any concerns that maybe they've heard from other parents, or maybe that they've had, feel free to jump in. I don't know if anybody else has any concerns that they've heard of that they wanted to share. Okay, so we'll go to the next question, is that once you were involved in adaptive sports, what were some of the challenges you may have faced? It can be anything from transportation to not liking a certain program, or just anything that came up. We'll start with Jen and Bower.
Yeah, to me, I think we kind of, in New Orleans, we don't have too many programs, and we've created a few things of our own around here. We've got a dance program that Bower participated in, and some yoga, and he was actually on the school soccer team. And it's attitudes and trying to educate others about Bower's ability to participate, and that it's okay, you know, he should be included. So I always feel like the barriers that we face are attitudes and just, you know, helping people see the light.
Quinn, challenges that you faced?
So specifically, I've faced a lot of challenges with different sports that I've played, but with surfing, you know, it's fairly a new sport. It's like 5 or 6 years old. And I'm sure Patrick has seen this, but at coming to the surf events through CAF, but one of the challenges I really face is like there's not that many women surfers for each division. So all year round, we have different competitions, especially if you want to qualify for Team USA. Not many people know that I'm surfing with all of the guys, and I'm the only woman out of like 14 to 15 guys or something like that. And my division has the most people, so I'm in the adaptive prone division, which is technically what Jesse Billauer's in, and like Barney Miller. I know you guys probably recognize the name Jesse Billauer, but I always joke that I'm the girl version of Jesse Billauer because I'm literally the only girl out there. So, you know, probably 2 times out of the year I get to surf with other women, and then we're still learning how to classify the athletes in different divisions, and maybe Patrick can speak on this, but like so far the classifications of each division, it's so hard when you have spinal cord injury and then CP, spina bifida, and all that stuff. So they're doing really well, but I would love to see more girls surfing in the future, whether that's competitive or not. I just think surfing's so fun, and who doesn't love a day at the beach? So.
Wonderful. Cathryn?
Yes, I agree with Quinn's like 1,000%. I think that being the only female at Michigan right now, I mean, I want it to grow. Like, I want more girls to join and women to join, but it can feel kind of isolating because I feel like with girls and women in adaptive sports being surrounded by men, it can be hard to assert yourself and use your voice. So I just want to encourage the people that watch this in the future to speak up about like if something's hurting, speak up if people make like backhanded compliments. I've had people, boys around track meets be like, you throw like a girl, and I'm like, I am a girl, watch me throw this javelin. Like, you know, I can do it, I can throw. We just want equal opportunity, and it's really important to take a mental note of how your body's feeling. I had to learn how to listen to myself and be confident. So I would say it was hard at first finding a support system, but you will get there if you have faith in yourself. So.
Okay, so all you ladies out there and all you little girls that are out there, we're ready for sports. Okay, Cynthia?
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges that I faced as a parent was through the school system. So from even when Cathryn was in elementary school or middle school, and definitely in high school, inclusion, which is so important, was not there for students with physical disabilities often to participate in school sports or even like field day. I'll never forget when field days were set up without any consideration for the kids with physical disabilities to participate. But when Cathryn got in high school, I definitely took a stronger stance on advocacy when she was a track and field athlete, because in our state, kids like Cathryn who had a physical disability but were ambulatory were not allowed to participate and compete with their peers in high school on their teams, sports teams, any sports team. we focused on track and field, and we had to advocate, to get the rule changed so that athletes like Cathryn could compete, and we were successful. So I think parents should never underestimate their ability to make change and speak up for their kids, because now thousands of more kids can compete in the state where we are. And I think about half, I don't know if it's half yet, of the states in America now have some sort of high school adaptive program, but it's not enough. It's definitely not enough opportunities for that. And that is something that I had never considered before, that Cathryn wouldn't be able to participate in high school on a sports team. So that was a challenge for sure, but we can definitely be successful by speaking up.
Great. And any challenges that anybody else on the panel would be interested in speaking about?
No, I would say that just based upon our annual grant applications, the split is about 65% men and about 35% females. And that's for years consistent across the board. So we definitely need more young ladies getting out there and getting involved in sports and overcoming those barriers, because we see those numbers and they're very much unrepresentative of a lot of great female athletes that are out there that maybe just haven't crossed that barrier yet to get involved. So we'd love to get more involved.
Yeah, and I'll just add something, piggybacking on what Cynthia was talking about in terms of the high school, access to high school. I think this is a really interesting sort of sub-industry within the adaptive sports world, which is sort of that, how are we advocating, for inclusive sport within any existing, sort of sports infrastructure. And I'm going to say something, and I have Cindy chime in because she's way more of an expert than I am. But what I do think is interesting is to be the one athlete that is included on, a able-bodied mainstream, however you want to characterize it, sports team, is incredibly challenging emotionally. It is not the future. It is not the path. We're going to always need adaptive sports organizations, because I think that's where you build your courage and your strength to then go be that one athlete. I've watched my son do this on the swim team in junior high, and it's not for the faint of heart to be that one athlete that's included. And so I do think, because I've heard the argument, well, we need to work ourselves out of a job within the adaptive sports world. We're going to get inclusion across all these, it's like, not so fast. But Cindy has a lot of perspective in advocating, and my only advice would be find your Cindy in your area who can back you up to fight the fight within whatever school or city infrastructure you need to fight for that inclusion.
Yeah, thank you, Clayton. I will just add, it's not easy. And we spend a lot of time with teachers, coaches, educating, and there's wonderful, wonderful high school and collegiate coaches there. But it's a challenge, especially when you're the only one on a team that may have a disability. And I know CAF does a great job with, their program, and inclusion can be great, but it can also be a challenge. And, we'll get calls literally at our office, and it'll be 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll be at a meet. And they'll say, we need to, so-and-so is at a high school, can you come and change a tire? And it's 2 hours away. And so, we're trying to work with those coaches, and there's more education through CAF and Move United, so these coaches at the high school level can be more independent. But to mirror what Clayton said, it is a challenge, and we need inclusion as well as adaptive sport programs.
Wonderful, thank you. So the next question, we'll start with Clayton. So what are some of the adaptive sports and activities that are specifically for people with cerebral palsy?
Sure, and I'm definitely not an expert on CP sports, but I'm kind of pretty passionate about the Paralympic movement in general. And just a couple quick thoughts. So first of all, the most famous CP sport that I think is out there is 7-a-side soccer, which was a Paralympic sport through Rio, and I believe it's off the list for Tokyo, so I'm sure there's people fighting to get it back on the list. I watched it in Rio, and it looked amazing. I mean, it was really good soccer. It was really cool. And I know some very high-level people out there that have come through that system that are doing great things in their careers. You know, I love the idea of like CP specific sport because I understand the need for friends and community and people, but I do think you can look at many of the Paralympic sports, and in fact even broader adaptive sports that are very welcoming to the CP athletes, and there's designated classes or groupings by disability type for CP athletes. And so track and swimming are the ones that I know the best. And Cindy will be have a great answer to this, but I mean, these are athletes that are hard to find. They are rare. And so our community gets very excited when we see a CP swimmer, a CP runner. So, that you could have a career here if you really have the motivation, but really we would, I can't even think of any sport we would offer, even if it wasn't Angel City. The way we approach it is we're going to allow people with any disability to try any sport. We're really not going to limit them based on any Paralympic eligibility or criteria. So we're going to be very open to allowing CP athletes, to participate and learn the different sports, because you don't know where they're going to find their passion.
Patrick, any other thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree completely with what Clayton is saying, and we're kind of coming at it from a different perspective because we're kind of supporting the individual interest of all these different types of athletes, varying abilities, varying sport interest, and so when we do get inquiries about various types of sport, my response is always try it. I mean, see what works for you. That's the great thing about adaptive sports is we're always adapting them to make them as accessible to people as possible. So if you think hand cycling is a fit, or paracycling, we'll keep adjusting that bike. We'll keep messing around and trying to figure out what the fit is for you. So I would say just keep trying all these different things until you find what your groove is, or multiple grooves, and continue to do those and find your community.
I just wanted to jump in on the CP specific sports, because although there are many sports that can be adapted and have classifications for people with cerebral palsy, there are some specific sports that are really only for those athletes. Clayton already mentioned CP soccer, which is growing by leaps and bounds in the United States, but there also is a sport called race running, which is actually already popular in other countries, but relatively still new in the United States. And I know that Bower just got a new race runner, and it is for only certain classifications of CP. But there is also, and people forget about this sport, it's both recreational and a Paralympic sport, and that is bocce, the sport of bocce, which is for the more involved people with CP, but it is a fantastic sport. And the US has always had a great Paralympic bocce team, but it's a great recreational sport. And the nice thing about it is that it can be played really anywhere. It's a very social sport. You can play it with your family and friends. And I think people sometimes overlook it, but the criteria to play it, even at the Paralympic level, is people with cerebral palsy. So I would encourage everyone, families, to think about some of these other sports as well.
Cindy?
Yeah, I'm just going to add, because so much was covered, but a quick example of a very creative CP athlete. And, we're Zoom with everything virtual. And one of our programs is for our wheelchair racers, and they have rollers, and we do these intense workouts. And on the screen one day popped one of our athletes who happens to have cerebral palsy, who utilizes a chair, a power chair. And I said, Mark, what are you doing on this? Welcome, but what are you doing? He's like, Cindy, I'm going to do the workout. And I go, you don't have a racing chair and you don't have a roller. He goes, I don't care. And he never misses a workout, and he does every workout in his power chair. And I'm telling you, they're 45-minute to an hour workouts with sprints and, but here's this athlete that so badly wants to be part of that racing team. And so, never say never, right? Because I would not have thought, I questioned, what are you doing on here? But he loves it, and he's part of our team. So, keep thinking outside the box.
Anybody else want to add anything? Okay, wonderful. So we're going to go to collegiate and national and international level opportunities. So how would you find such opportunities? And we're going to start with Cindy.
I'll first take the collegiate aspect, and there are databases from, I know, Challenge Athlete Foundation, Move United, and United States Paralympic has databases with adaptive collegiate programs. They have started those that have inclusive programs. I will say with your traditional competitive sport, with adaptive sports merging with Move United, there's a whole gamut of regional sport competitions throughout the country, and that go into junior nationals if you are a youth. That's a great way, and from there, the international wheelchair and ambulatory sports teams are selected, and so that's one way. Certainly, United States Paralympics is a great resource, and they have a whole aspect of clinics and kind of moving up the ladder in regards to qualification and classifications. And then the other would be your national governing bodies. So there are a number of sports that fall under United States Paralympics, but others certainly fall under the national governing body. And I believe an example would be archery that falls under there. So it's there's a whole network. So the resources that are out there, but I would definitely make sure that you have information from the top down. And the other aspect with collegiate is if the college does not have a program, and let's take, I'll take Sam Grew on our team who went to Notre Dame, who's an amputee high jumper. When he went to Notre Dame for the first 2 years, they did not allow Sam to be part of the team. Switch out, Notre Dame got a new coach. Sam went back to Notre Dame and said, hey, I'm a gold medal Paralympian, I'd like to be part of the team. It was a different coach, and now Sam is part of, at Notre Dame. So, I would encourage parents and athletes, certainly athletes first, to advocate for themselves, to reach out to those colleges and to see if they will work with you in an inclusive environment.
Thank you. We'll go to Clayton.
Yeah, just to sort of reinforce what Cindy said. So the way that it's a really small community, so you don't have to knock on that many doors and you'll figure out what the opportunities out there. There aren't that many competitive opportunities. But the way that I would divide them is, there's single sport programs and competitions, and sort of a pathway if you're just super focused on a single sport. And then there's multi-sport competitions, and then sort of behind those sort of types of competitive opportunities, you have, as Cindy mentioned, the NGBs, the national governing bodies. Sometimes it's the same body that governs the Olympic sport, but in many cases it's not the same. And then you have many regional players like GLASA or Angel City that host. We primarily host the multi-sport events. Is kind of the main one of the main ways that we're engaged in the competitive side, and it's all kind of intermixed and interconnected. So again, it doesn't take too much research if you're really focused on one sport to sort of see what the path is. And I think unfortunately there's not a lot at the collegiate level right now. I think that's shifting, and it probably an exciting area. but we have to find more athletes to push into those collegiate programs. There's the programs that are out there already don't have enough athletes. They're dying for more athletes. So, but the community is kind of like this,
Wonderful. Patrick?
Yeah, they covered it beautifully. So not a whole lot to add other than to say, we're at CAF, we're kind of overseeing a lot of different things. We're not always experts in any particular area, but we're happy to help you find experts. So if you're, if anybody who's watching this has an interest in pursuing, a higher level of competition, whether it's collegiate, national, international, contact us and we'll try to get you in touch with the people that can help kind of chart that path for you.
I'd also like to make sure, since we're talking to families of children with cerebral palsy, we don't want to leave out the Cerebral Palsy International Sports and Recreation Association. It's global, and that is all that organization does, is focus on both recreational and competitive opportunities for athletes with CP across the spectrum, so all levels. There's over 63 countries around the world who are part of CP ISRA. They are starting to grow here in the United States, but they have world games, they have competitions, they have recreational activities that are outdoors and sports specific, and that is a great resource specifically for CP athletes.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Okay, great. So one of the challenges just right now is that we're in the middle of a pandemic, which makes some of these athletic activities very challenging. So this question is going out to the athletes here. So what are some of the things you're doing right now to stay active? We'll start with Quinn.
Well, first off, I love fitness, and surfing is definitely a part of that. But I love fitness and working out and CrossFit specifically, and I know that whole world's kind of imploding right now, but I try to find time out of my day, whether it's 20 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour, just to do little workouts. And I either go in or outside, and I live in Coronado, so it's like a spectacle, and they see this girl in a power chair working out, and more than half the people think I'm getting a tan, and I'm just like, no, I'm working out. But with, it's really hard to say with beaches during quarantine, because I don't know if it's changed, but they were closed for the longest time. And, San Diego's better, but especially with quarantine, surfers, no matter what, they're on top of each other. So, I'm starting to surf again. I had to take a break for a little bit, but I started surfing like a month or so ago, and I try to keep my distance out in the water, but you can't really avoid that. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing to stay as active as I can.
Wonderful. Bower?
So Bower, I like to say he does a triathlon a day. He has his tricycle here at home. We have a pool in our backyard, and we just got Bower a race runner. So he's been pretty much every day doing it. We're by ourselves, so we're out there in the streets tricycle riding and race running, and then we come home and he goes swimming in the pool, and then we kind of set up a little gym on our back porch where we've got a Pilates reformer that he can do some resistance training on, and he's got some active hands that he can use to hold weights with, and so he does some arm exercises. So I have to say he's probably as fit as I've ever seen him. I guess not going to school and sitting in his power chair all day has benefited in that respect, because we get to play a lot.
Yeah, a triathlon every day. Yeah, that'll get you stronger. That's for sure.
It used to be, you know, we try to get one in, and these days we're like, well, we've got all kinds of time. What are we going to do? So that's what we're up to.
Wonderful. And Cathryn?
Yes. So before I actually went to college, I'm on my 4th day of school right now. So I've been walking around campus, and then before I started at college, I would do the GLASA workouts with the teammates because they do daily and weekly workouts. I would do stretching's really important to me. So I have a yoga mat in my room that I would do, and I would do push-ups, crunches, and then I also really like to do the Peloton, which is an exercise bike. That was really good at strengthening my legs. And then when I'm at college, I obviously have to walk around campus, and I brought my field implements, and they also have a great bus system. So I get my daily workout in from walks right now and keeping my mind active with school. So I feel very fit and very capable.
Wonderful. So Patrick, Clayton, and Cindy, do you guys have any tips or advice or resources for staying active during this time?
I would say there are a lot of virtual programs out there, probably more than between CAF and Move United and, you know, Clayton's organization as far as there's a lot out there, but I would also say that utilize your athletes as a support system, and we're all probably on Facebook with a number of athletes, and the challenges that come across, it's really kind of fun to see, you know, the various athletes challenging themselves. So I would just say, you know, utilize the National Disabled Sports Organizations as well as the support system of athletes to stay active and, you know, get outside safely when you can.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add. I mean, it takes a different level of motivation to stay healthy when you can't, you know, go to the gym or work out with your buddies or whatever. But you see a lot of the adaptive sports programs, you know, pivoting and trying to push out virtual workouts and virtual programming. And, you know, we just wrapped up our Angel City virtual games. So 3 weeks of programming this summer, but you know, there's always stuff popping. And honestly, like CAF pushes a lot of great stuff, and Move United's doing a really nice job of kind of keeping the community informed about, you know, kind of all the different things that are going on. But yeah, no, I get it. Hard to motivate these days for sure.
Clayton, do you want to share a little bit with us on how the virtual games were organized and how that worked?
Sure. So for those that don't know what the Angel City Games are, it was planned this year to be a 4-day multi-sport Paralympic competition where you could come and learn in a clinic environment and then compete. We were offering 9 different adaptive sports. We had an e-sport, we had a cheer program, and then we do special events in the evenings. And so our kind of vision for what the virtual games was this year was really trying to recreate the sport, the special events. You know, we try to bring in a lot of celebrities. We're in Los Angeles, so we can do that, and the community aspects of that. And so we created originally 4 weeks, and then we took the June week off the calendar given the protests, but we stuck with the 3 weeks. And we did something every day. And it's all still available on our games platform, so people can still get to it. But you know, we had workouts, we had concerts, we had a resource night, fun run, fun ride, all kinds of movie nights. And so we really tried to kind of recreate the spirit of the games virtually. And you know, we're still getting our survey results back, so we'll see if we succeeded in that. But it was a valiant effort nonetheless.
Wonderful. Patrick?
It was a great effort. A lot of great programming went into that, and the community is very appreciative. We've really, at CAF, we've tried to kind of become a hub. We've been collecting resources. We initially, when the pandemic started talking about what can we do what videos can we produce? And it became evident that a lot of people were doing really great stuff. So we just started collecting. And so if you go to challengeathletes.org, on the homepage, there's an events calendar where we pull all that stuff together, and there's stuff every day that's happening. Everything's free of charge, and we're getting this from some of the best adaptive sport programs out there. So those are options that are going to be available for the foreseeable future. So utilize those to the best of your ability. And outside of that, get creative. Get outside when you can. We're all tired of being in front of a computer screen, I'm quite sure. So if you have opportunities to get outside safely and get some fresh air, by all means do it. Just keep moving.
Wonderful. And we have a sheet with some of these resources that we'll be giving out to all of the attendees here today. Great. So I'll just kind of close and asking our wonderful panelists, thank you so much. And is there anything else that you think might be helpful for all of the parents and kids that are out in the audience now watching? That we didn't cover maybe that you might want them to know?
Well, I would just add one as a parent. One of the things that was most beneficial is to jump in, and it will change your whole family. It's not just benefiting the child with CP specifically, but it will change everyone in your family for the better to get involved. That would be my best piece of advice. If you're hesitant at all, don't hesitate.
Yes, and I would want to add, don't forget to utilize the resources that are available to you, like Challenge Athlete Foundation, GLASA, Positive Athlete CP Foundation. Everyone at these organizations and all of the CP organizations, everyone wants you to join in, I want the sports benefit and the information to reach everyone watching, because like my mom said, it's changed our lives, and everyone at these organizations and in the Paralympic sector and in the adaptive sports sector is really supportive, and we want you to join.
I would just like to go ahead. I would just add that it's so important that we have athletes with disabilities as mentors, and we need more mentors because we have wonderful coaches, some which are former athletes with disabilities, but for anybody listening, please, the mentorship of athletes with disabilities is absolutely so important to the movement of adaptive and Paralympic sports.
Jen and Bower?
Yeah,
you want to say something?
As a recreational athlete, I like to call Bower, he does a bunch of recreational things. We're not competitive over here. But I highly recommend that families explore camps because kids with cerebral palsy really, there might not be as many adaptive sports opportunities, and there's a lot of camps available, and kids can really learn about opportunities or learn or get to know sports. Bower really, we learned that he loved riding behind, going in towables behind boats. So that led us to explore adaptive water skiing. And, that was because of camp. So I really highly encourage families to look into their local camps for their kids with cerebral palsy. It's a great opportunity for them. And then you can go from there, and then they can become, Paralympians.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'll just add another final thought, at least for me, which is whether you're a therapist or trying to encourage your athletes to get involved, or a parent or a friend, or wouldn't matter what your role is, just keep in mind there's no book you can order to give you a plan or a strategy. There's no script. There isn't a perfect plan. There's nothing any of us could figure out for you. You have to kind of figure it out on your own. And I will say, Cathryn said so beautifully, everybody wants to help you in this space. So if you just show up and you befriend anybody that you can find, they will point you in this direction, then it'll point you in this direction, and you'll find your strategy over time. And, listen, my example is I Googled adaptive surfing. I didn't even know what the word adaptive was. I Googled amputee surfing. and I got Challenged Athletes Foundation. And CAF didn't even really do surfing back then. But somehow I got CAF. I got invited to SDTC, one of the best events in the country, and met Rudy Garcia Tolson and Sarah Reinertson and Scout Bassett and all the Paralympians that are involved there. And look at me now. Like, I started an adaptive sports program, like, and it all traced back to that first time I showed up at CAF with an open mind, open heart, open ears, and just started building those connections. And so it kind of doesn't matter where you start to me. You know, if you ask the right questions and you have the right mindset as you go in, everyone will help you find your path, and you'll get there. And then you can write your book later.
Patrick, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, that encapsulated everything very nicely. It's you just have to start, and there's plenty of reasons and excuses to come with not to, but the benefits once you get into the community will knock your socks off. So it's worth a tiny amount of risk to see all the great things that can come from it.
Wonderful. Quinn, any last thoughts?
Just adaptive sports, I feel like can have a big impact on anyone. And just to touch on, like, it's not only changed my life as an athlete, and it's changed my family's life. Like, my family's at every surf event, and my dad actually competes with me. So it's like, in turn, it's literally had this ripple effect of, like, everyone that knows me in Coronado, all my family members, like, and all my friends that I meet, they're like, this is insane, especially CAF, like, how they helped with the main surf contest of the year. I think we had a lot of different, like, over 200 different disabled athletes from, like, around the world just to surf in La Jolla, and it's just insane just to see at 25 what ripple effect that sports have had on my life and my family's life. So people definitely need to get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everybody. Any last things we have to get out to our wonderful audience?
I would just give a shout out to Challenged Athlete Foundation. I forgot to say this to you, Patrick, but Cathryn has gotten a grant from CAF for the last several years that allowed her to go to Spain and do other things. And I think that when I looked at the statistics, athletes with CP are also underrepresented as well as girls. So to all the families with CP athletes out there or aspiring athletes, you know, there are a lot of opportunities for funding if you think that you can't afford the travel and training or even implements. It doesn't have to be always like this elite competitive level. I don't think Cathryn would be where she is without the support of Challenged Athlete Foundation. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's allowed me, like my mom said, it's allowed me to go to all of these competitions. And I just wanted to add, whatever type of CP, cerebral palsy that you have, we have a place for you. Like, I see you, you can participate, whether you're more severe or less severe. Anyone on the spectrum is welcome. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This is like the best community that I've ever been a part of. I will forever be an advocate. I just wanted to say that I see you, we see you, we love you.